AWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the country. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of over there? Because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They don't read the comments, they talk down to us. They say this all the time. They think that we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube or Twitter or wherever. And I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. Whether you think of what I'm saying is the most amazing thing out there, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the dumbest thing you've ever heard, then also let me know in the comments below. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And I would love to see you part of this community. So please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community and it's turning into something truly, truly special. And I would love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we really feel connected to, something that is larger than ourselves and something that we are proud to be part of, something that we can't wait to engage with and feel like actually connected to, unlike our experiences in some of these other channels. And I really think we can do it. And honestly, I think we're already well on our way to doing it. So I would love to see you subscribe so you can be part of it as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're with first things first, talking about Nick's tiers, where he kind of ranks all the quarterbacks and stuff. This is going to be interesting because I really want to see what he does with Josh Allen, more specifically, honestly, more than anything else, what he does with Lamar. I just want to see if he still has Mahomes at the top of the mountain, because there's just absolutely positively no reason why Patrick Mahomes should be at the top. I also want to see if Dak moves up on the mountain, because there's no reason why Dak should move up on the mountain, because Dak has played a terrible, terrible team of the Commanders. Not only are they terrible, but they were even missing starters on their already terrible team. So let's see what happens.
Listen, of these guys, I'm actually most optimistic about Anthony Richardson and Kyler. I thought Kyler looked decent coming off the ACL. While the contract is going to be hard to live up to, those are the guys I'm most optimistic about. The guys I think under the most pressure next year are Justin and Deshaun, really playing for their lives as starters. Deshaun weird because of the contract. Number 6, I mean, a brutal drop for some show favorites. The Prince. Jalen fresh off the Super Bowl. Aaron fresh off his own personal research. Tua fresh off two back-to-back September MVP campaigns. And then Geno and Baker about where they're supposed to be. Baker was a little low going into the year, Geno a little high. That's about where they should be. Number 5, congratulations to Jordan Love and Brock Purdy for their ascent past mediocre to above average for both of them. They are both in the top 15. And Jaden Daniels and Drake May, let me explain. They're going to go 2nd and 3rd or 3rd and 4th or something like that in this draft. There is not a single quarterback below them that the team with the second pick would trade for the second pick.
Jalen Hurts?
Or Jalen or the Prince. If you called up, if Philly called up and said, hey, we'll give you Jalen Hurts for the second pick, the team with the second pick is saying no. Given the contracts and given everything.
For the third pick.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Next! Caleb applies the same logic, except it's the people beneath him in the first pick. Hey, guys. The comeback of the traditional drop-back passer. Stafford and Kirk Cousins rising up the mountain despite not being able to run a 5-flat 40-yard dash. Level 3, CJ bleeping Stroud. What a rookie season by Bruise guy. Joe Burrow, it's not unfair to say, slight injury risk. Slight.
I just want to know how anyone thinks that, and Stroud is having a great, has had a great year without a doubt. But I just want to know where anyone thinks that Allen Burrow and Stroud are on the same level currently. Not to say that, whatever. Now, not to mention this is supposed to be based off of this season. So Burrow has to be low because he did get injured, and when he did play, he didn't play great. He had some games where he played great, and he had some games where he didn't. And if you want to say that he didn't play great in some of those games because he was injured, that may or may not be true. I probably believe that is true, but that is still what he's played. So we're not judging this based off of what we know someone can do or what someone has done in the past. That's the whole point of this mountain, right? Is that they can move, game to game. It's supposed to be this living, breathing thing. So that makes zero sense. And again, we know that because he's even dropped Patrick Mahomes down before based off of play from the previous week and stuff like that. So the fact that Burrow is still up there really doesn't make any sense. And you can't say that he has a slight injury risk. He has a true injury risk. He's constantly injured. And I don't want him to be, I don't want to say that he's injury prone or this or that, but like he does keep getting injured. The thing is that his injuries, he's been injured and is missing like more time than I think Tua at this point. Now, Tua obviously is, his injury risk is like potentially his brain just essentially like exploding. So that makes it so much more intense. And so it's just obviously different. Burrow keeps banging up his calf, his arm, this, that, his knee. But it is a genuine concern that you would be, I think if you're a Burrow fan or a Cincinnati fan, that you would be like a little uneasy. It's how I feel about Hurts right now. Hurts is getting, is always kind of banged up. He was banged up at the end of last season. He's banged up this season. His knee has just, not been the same. And that's tough for a quarterback. If, when you're a quarterback, so much of your mechanics and throwing and your plant, all that type of stuff really matters on your health, on how you're feeling. And so, any kind of lingering injury can really affect you. I mean, it really, really can, more than really any other position, because the weight and the responsibility you have is so much more impactful of the game than other positions, right? That's indisputable. So, I just can't believe how Allen leads his team to the second seed, and yet you have him so low, and you even have Patrick Mahomes above him. We'll
Injury risk at this point, that hurts you. And Josh Allen, right where he was to start the year and to end the year, was quite the circuitous path there. Level 2.
Okay, I was just about to say, if he puts Lamar below Mahomes, that's insane. Or that he says that Dak,
Patrick drops, but let's see how the next month goes. But right now, if you were to do the NFL Top 100, I think we know who would get the most number one votes. We'll talk about him in a moment. Dak had an MVP caliber season, checked all the MVP benchmarks, but we decided about a month ago he wasn't going to win the MVP, so now he is not even it's not even a discussion. We just decided, hey, Lamar's not playing Week 18, doesn't matter what you do in Week 18, doesn't count. And then atop the mountain is Lamar. And again, let's see how the next month goes. But for the time being,
you could say the exact same thing about Josh Allen not getting a Pro Bowl. Josh Allen played Week 18, and they're like, oh, we're not going to give you a Pro Bowl, even though he played out of his mind and, won that game single-handedly, put the Bills on his back, and led them to the second seed in the AFC playoffs ahead of Patrick Mahomes. So to the fact that Mahomes is above there and above Allen is the thing that I take the biggest issue with more than anything. Lamar deserves to be above all of them because of what Lamar has done. But the fact is, and listen, here's the thing too. I have called out Purdy and said that Purdy is not elite. I'm on the record saying that, or that he's not elite yet. I said that he's done nothing to prove to us that Brock Purdy is an elite quarterback, that he hasn't faced any adversity, that he hasn't really done enough for us. And I'm not in the business of crowning someone king before they've done anything, right? That's just not how it works. We do that all the time with so many players, right? Derek Carr was supposed to be, the next coming. So was Kyler. So was Russ. I'm looking at any of these other players right now. Goff, right? Fields, and none of it has panned out quite yet, or if at all. Baker Mayfield. So I'm not in the business of crowning these people as being elite or winners or champions in any of this until you've actually done it. So that is what Mahomes has on his resume. But again, we are judging this based on the merit of this season and this season alone. And the truth of the matter is that Purdy has undeniably has had a better season than Patrick Mahomes. Now, if you ask, who would you draft right now? Obviously, it's going to be Mahomes, right? But that's not the game. You can't change the rules of the game to fit the narrative as you want it to. We are looking at this season and this season alone. That is literally the whole point of this thing. Otherwise, Mahomes would just be at the top of the mountain forever in Nick's eyes, right? So we know that that's not the rules of this game here. And I know we're like harping on this like stupid, dumb little game on some random TV show here. But therefore, if we're going to play by the actual rules of this game, Purdy should be way higher, and he should be higher than Mahomes. He had a better season than Mahomes. undeniably. Like it's not, whether you want to say it's because of his weapons or not, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter at this point, because he had a better season. He had a better season. He had a better record. He played better. That's just the reality of the situation. Again, whether it's his weapons or not, it actually doesn't matter for this argument right here. Otherwise, there's other players that wouldn't even be on there, or they would be higher up. So it just doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. So I just think that if you really had to look at it, I would say Lamar is at the top. Then I would say Josh Allen. I would probably have to put Dak up there. So it would be Lamar Jackson, Allen, and Dak, because I think that they've had probably two of the more interesting seasons of this in more recent history. And the reason why, to me, Dak is more of the question mark, which I've already beat this dead horse over multiple videos, is that the Cowboys have played trash teams, and that's why they've had apparently the third easiest schedule in the Super Bowl era. Out of all the schedules, they've had the third easiest schedule in the history of the Super Bowl era. Guys, we can't ignore that. That is a real thing. That is a real thing. That is real data that you have to consider. You can't just ignore it. That's real data, okay? And so it's obviously benefited him. But as I just said, we are judging the merit of this season, but that's included in this season, so take into consideration. So I would say that, if you're really forcing me to pick, I would put Allen ahead, right? I would probably have Lamar, right? I wouldn't have it like where it goes 1, 2, 3, but what I would do it is as I would have Lamar, then I would have Allen underneath Lamar, then I would have Dak under Allen, and then I would probably put Stroud, and then I would put Stafford and Mahomes together, because I think they both had kind of like these irregular seasons, and they've also had like issues with their teams, and they've probably relatively played comparable, and they both have like these elite offensive head coaches that have helped them. So that's probably where I would put them with regards to that. I think Herbert and Burrow this season are just too difficult to evaluate, because they're both injured. They were both injured, both had issues. Herbert's head coach got fired. So if your head coach is getting fired, why are we expecting you as a quarterback to have a good season? Doesn't make any sense. And like I said, Burrow was injured, and even when he was playing, it's like hard to really gauge how much that was impacting him. So like I just kind of like throw that out, honestly. And Goff deserves to be way higher. Goff deserves to be up there, honestly. Honestly, maybe on the same level as Mahomes. And again, to be clear, I'm not saying that they're equal players in the history of their career here. I'm just saying this season, right? Like if you had to just pick, if you were just, and I don't even want to say looking at numbers, because then that's no fun if we're just looking at numbers. But if we just watched all these quarterbacks play, if you knew nothing, this is the way how I like to do this, is if we didn't know any of these players at all, right? And we have no notion of their history, their health, how many extra years, how many more years they have to play on, in their life, right? In their career, because some are obviously older and some are younger. And we just saw them play. It's all neutral. They all are just in, this like neutral, black or white costume here, wearing a mask. I know, ridiculous analogy. And we just don't know anything about them. And we're just watching them play. You would see like a Mahomes and say, wow, like he's done some really great stuff. Like, wow, look at it, he moves. Wow, look at that throw. And then you would see other stuff where you'd be like, oh my God, this guy kind of looks a little, wow, what? Like, he played that bad again. Like the Broncos? Like, wait, the Raiders? Like, wait, what? Like he lost to the Bills. He lost to, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like, wow, what's happening here? Didn't play too great against the Packers, like all this type of stuff. You would be like, okay, so he's got a good upside, it seems, but like he didn't wow you in any games, right? Lamar Jackson wowed you in games. Josh Allen wowed you in games. CJ Stroud wowed you in games. Dak technically wowed you in games, but it was against teams that were not good. But with that said, you would still say, no, he still has, he still wowed you, which is why I would put Dak ahead of Mahomes. So for all you people that say that I am just a Cowboys hater and a Philadelphia Eagles homer, I just told you that I put Dak ahead of Mahomes this season. So there you go. All right. That's my unbiased view of all of this. And you would also have to put Goff up there as well. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and Purdy. Again, if you just saw Purdy, you can't forget Purdy. I on the record saying that Lamar is the MVP over Purdy, that Purdy hasn't done enough, and this, that, and the third. And I've said this so many times at this point, but you would still put Purdy up there. You would put Purdy above Mahomes if you were just watching the games unfold and you had no idea who these players were. You would at least put them on equal footing. You wouldn't put Purdy all the way down there. So again, if we're going to play by the rules of this game where we're just looking at it this season and everyone can move, up and down, and so I think what he's doing is being totally disingenuous, honestly, with this right now. I mean, it's just you're going to say that Patrick Mahomes was a top 3 quarterback this season? Can anyone truly say that Patrick Mahomes this season was a top 3 quarterback? If he's considered to be a top 3 quarterback this season, then please tell me, please, can someone please help me? I need your help, please. Please explain to me why Josh Allen is not, with the same or better stats, with a better playing record, and a better higher seed in the same conference and beat him head to head. Please. Please. I really, truly don't know. So if someone please help me. I can't make sense. Maybe I'm just a moron.
That is, and we can show you the biggest risers and biggest fallers, Greg Jennings, if people are interested. So Stroud and Lamar jumped up 5 and 3 rows respectively. Stroud, of course, wasn't on it. And Jalen and the Prince dropped from rows 3 and 2 respectively down to row 6. Greg Jennings, your thoughts on Mahomes Mountain post regular season?
Mahomes Mountain is packed.
Packed.
But I like Kirk Cousins, man. I see that he moved up.
Yeah.
I think he can move up even more.
Wait,
like
what?
If there was a way, and I'm not trying to knock Josh Allen off of the 3rd tier or Joe Burrow, but Kirk Cousins is just simply underappreciated, and we got to start putting some respect on this.
I thought that was quite respectful where I
Look,
put it.
Exactly, and credit to you,
Thanks.
but I'm going to elevate him even
please,
more.
Go ahead.
This young man played in 8 games this year.
Not even that young.
Like, 35 years old, still a young man. He's younger than me. I'm calling him a young man. He played in 8 games this year, and he threw for over 2,300 yards. And we have Joe Burrow up here because of resume, because of what he had been able to accomplish as far as what he's done for his team. But if we're talking about this year, man, let's look at the numbers.
Well,
I mean, 8 games versus 10 games, 69%, basically 70% completion
in those 8 games?
percentage. I'm sorry?
What was the record in those 8 games?
I think they were 4
Can I
and 4.
finish?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can I please finish?
Please let them.
2,300 yards, every category.
Okay, but and this is where it's a tough thing, because I go back and forth between QBs, wins being a QB stat, because I think there is the argument that it can be a QB stat, but I think it depends on the game, quite honestly. But if you look at these numbers, if the Cincinnati Bengals have a better record than the Vikings, you can't say though that it's because of Cousins, you know what I mean, or because of Burrow. So that's the thing. And again, also comparing these stats, this is also difficult. And this is something that we just don't talk about enough when we're talking about sports, is that who did they play in those games? It matters, okay? Because if in those 8 games, the Minnesota Vikings played just nobody but just trash teams, right? And they were just scooping up on the bottom of the barrel. Well, that matters. And if the Bengals played nothing but playoff teams, so all of that stuff really matters, and that's why, you got to really dig into the numbers and the analytics. So these side-by-side comparisons are never the easiest things to do, but it's the best we have, because at the same time, it's still they're still NFL teams, right? So it's not like they're going up against college teams or high school teams here. So it's still, that still is technically like the equalizer. But if you are looking at it like this season, like I've been saying, we can only go off of this season. I would say clearly Kirk Cousins had a better season, without a doubt.
He was better than my guy, who I love, Joe Burrow. We got to start putting some respect on
honestly.
Kirk Cousins' name. When Aaron Rodgers went down, the Jets were, hey, can we get Kirk Cousins? We should trade for Kirk Cousins. Everybody was looking for a quarterback, and if Kirk would have been healthy, he might not have been in Minnesota.
Yeah. I don't think the Jets did that. I think the Jets just kind of did nothing.
Listen, Greg, you make a strong case for your guy Kirk Cousins. I would argue that this placement right now on Mahomes Mountain is the highest Kirk Cousins has ever been in any quarterback ranking system ever, except for career salary. So I think it's a more than fair, but I understand your point. Brew?
Okay.
What?
You tried to make it nice.
What?
You tried to
All I try to be is nice.
lead me off to another path. And look at congratulations to Brock Purdy.
Yes.
Look at how far he's moved up.
Yeah.
Man, stop it. All right, Brock Purdy is continually being disrespected by you. I guess you're going to have to learn the hard way. All right, he should at least, look, the college kids, Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels, Drake May, they are not coming in next year and lighting the league on fire. I don't think any of them is going to be a C.J. Stroud next year. So if you want to say, well, where you moving him?
Yeah, where you moving?
Move Caleb and put him there. All right, he's had a better season than Stafford. Stafford was first half of the season, Stafford was like 9 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Stafford had 1 touchdown, 2 picks in his last game. Come on, Matthew Stafford, y'all completed 62% of his passes. Y'all acting like the dude was all that this year. Brock Purdy was all that. Top 5 in the league in 5 categories, the 5 main passing categories. Lit it up against the top teams he played. They played like 6 playoff teams. He was 14 touchdowns, 5 picks. And obviously 4 of them came against Baltimore. So in the other 5 playoff games, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. So he did it against good teams. He had a great season overall. Brock Purdy is being disrespected.
Where would you have
him? To the next level. To the 4th.
You think that?
And I put him first in that level.
Okay, well, there's
where Caleb is.
There's no left to right. We all know this. It's taken a full year. You still don't believe me.
I got a source in your committee,
There is
man.
no committee. The committee is Wednesdays for Tears. Mahomes Mountain is just me. If the Niners called up the Bears and said, "Hey, we'll trade you Brock Purdy for the number 1 pick," the Bears would hang up the phone and then laugh maniacally at them. And so that just is what it is. But I don't want to argue
But
with
Caleb
you.
Williams is an unknown.
Okay,
They would have done that with Trevor too.
That's
Trevor
fine.
They would have hung up the phone
and by
on
the way,
Trevor
if
too.
they
And how's that looking right now?
called the Jags right now and said, we'll trade you Brock for Trevor, the Jags would hang the phone, laugh maniacally. But that's not the point.
Eat where you live.
That's
Eat
fine.
where you live.
That's fine.
You live in Jacksonville, eat. I live in San Francisco if I'm Purdy. I'm eating.
Okay, all right. I
all I got
don't
to say.
totally understand how that fits in what we're discussing, but set that aside. The idea that Brock
excellent
Purdy
system.
was more impressive this year than Matt Stafford, I reject on its face. I just reject it on its face.
More touchdowns, same interceptions.
And you said he had his stuff against playoff teams. One of those games that you didn't mention was against the Browns, where he completed 40% of his passes and threw for 140 yards. So maybe
Can't
he
have
didn't
a bad game?
What? No. But you made it sound like his only bad game in his playoff teams was the Ravens
No, it
game.
wasn't his only.
Stafford, if the Niners had Matt Stafford, they would be undefeated and one of the best teams
Matt
we've ever seen.
Stafford is a dropped interception from Jaquaski Tart from being in infamy right now. Seriously.
I'm talking about this season. I'm not
I'm
talking
just
about
saying
his history. I'm not talking about his
Imagine
history.
how history changes if Tart catches the interception.
Go ahead.
All right. So as you know, for dry January, I gave up Casamigos and soda and defending Mac Jones. It was a combo.
Yeah.
I'm making an exception right now.
No, you're not.
Yeah. I'm going to ask Greg this question. Because, Greg, I was inundated with this graphic on social media.
Oh, don't do it.
People begging me to put this on the show.
Stop.
It's the Prince compared to Mac Jones.
Ooh.
Now, when you look at the numbers are very similar. Except one guy we're saying is a bench warmer, and it has to be a backup quarterback, and he was inactive for the last game. One guy just played like it. So, Greg,
Max numbers.
I tried to put it in the nicest terms possible. Are we 100% sure that Trevor is a can't-miss franchise quarterback? I'm not saying he's not good. 100% sure he's a can't-miss franchise quarterback because that's what he was advertised as. It's been 3 years.
And
He's
he
played
was
one
great in
half
high
of
school.
good playoff football. Excellent in high school.
That was awesome.
You should have seen him in
Gatorade
7th
surgery
grade.
and all that stuff.
Absolutely not. We are not 100% sure.
Thank you, Greg.
Can I make a
Super
point
Bowl
here?
champion?
All right, can I just make a point here?
Yeah.
Wilds just said, this is a nice little turn of phrase. This is a good debate tactic, Wilds, that you just used. And I'm impressed by it. I wonder if Josh, coached you up on this. Wilds said, I'm going to put this in nice terms. But the nice terms were so over-the-top complimentary, Greg could only answer no. 100% sure he's a can't miss. That's like 5 guys in the league.
Yeah.
Greg, are you 100% sure that...
Well, the truth is, I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole thing about Trevor Lawrence right now because that's not the scope of this video. But the truth is that Trevor Lawrence, unfortunately, was playing pretty well until he got banged up. Then he got like 3 or 4 different random injuries, and also like his offensive weapons got injured. I think there's been a lot put on Trevor Lawrence's plate. His first season, he has a coach that gets fired, right? Like that's a disaster. Then he gets Doug Peterson and gets him into the playoffs, and which has been great. And then, he gets banged up. And also it's like they don't have a ton of these weapons. And again, I think it's hard. I really, really do. I would love to see what King Patrick Mahomes does, down in Jacksonville. I bet you it's not very special. I guarantee it, quite honestly. So I think it's, again, I'm not saying that he's a 100% can't miss, that's all I really have to say about that for right now. I think we have to, I think Lawrence has shown us enough that he can be really good, but like every single quarterback, you need to have some positive circumstance. You have to have something good around you. You need to have good coaches, good offensive line, good weapons. You need these things. And again, that to me is what separates Josh Allen from a lot of these quarterbacks. And again, I'm not saying that makes Josh Allen the best quarterback, but that's what makes like Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, for that matter, really special, because because these are 2 players that have won in very questionable circumstances with questionable teams and no true surefire great either offensive head coach or surefire offensive great offensive coordinator, which cannot be said about Purdy, cannot be said about Dak, cannot be said about Jalen Hurts, cannot be said about Patrick Mahomes. You just can't. That's just a reality, right? Everyone thought that Bill Belichick was this amazing coach and Tom Brady left, and then you're like, wow, is Bill Belichick actually that good, or was it really all Tom Brady, right? Before that used to be a debate, and now like no one debates it. Everyone's like, man, who the heck even wants Bill Belichick as a coach right now? So, you just don't know. And again, I'm not saying that Mahomes is nothing without Andy Reid, or he's nothing without these players, but we've seen him with a team right now that doesn't have elite weapons around him, with an aging Travis Kelce. And what has Mahomes done? He's looked absolutely positively mediocre, with moments that you're like, whoa, that's great. But Justin Fields has moments where he looks great too. Lots of players look great at random moments, absolutely. But what do you do consistently? That's what it really comes down to. But what do you guys all think? What do you think about the tiers? I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Let me know who you think should be at the top, who you think should be at the bottom, where do you think these players should be. Would absolutely love. Let me know in the comments below, and please do not forget to subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it, and I think we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Thanks so much, and see you next time.